Watch this.
While there's still a question about blurring the lines of the Supremacy Clause, there's no question Idaho's legislature wants to have its hand in the immigration issue.
There's no purer form of government than local government.
Stop me if you've heard that one before. So why hasn't that stopped Idaho lawmakers from trying to dictate what local government can do? It also hasn't stopped them from saying they don't. From mandatory minimums to backyard animals to speed limits, there's no limit to what this legislature might do. And we have a breakdown of what else they've done so far. Well, Idaho is a border state. It's just not the border getting all the attention from Idaho lawmakers right now. Sure, the Panhandle does push up against the province of British Columbia, Canada, but 1,500 miles to the south, that's where we're supposed to be looking right now. A flood of criminals, they say, needs to be taken on by creating new Idaho laws. President Donald Trump has made it his focal point, as you know, and people in Burley, Idaho, they responded on Sunday with a message to state and federal leaders. About 100 people showing up, speaking out against ICE raids, systemic racism, and what they see as just unjust immigration policies, both across the country and here in Idaho. Policies that Idaho lawmakers are actually in the process of putting together and adding to, even though there's still some question about what they can do when it comes to this. So, Joe, what is going on with the latest immigration bill in Idaho State House?
Well, just this afternoon, in a party line vote, Brian, the Idaho House approved House Bill 83. We've talked about this one for several weeks now. It creates new state-level immigration crimes, 2 new crimes specifically. Entering Idaho directly from a foreign country that wasn't through the legal port of entry, and that would be a misdemeanor if you were to break that law, a felony for a repeat offense. The law would also make it a crime for previously deported people to re-enter and exist in Idaho. Law enforcement can only enforce these proposed laws if someone is being investigated for another crime. If passed, judges could then actually order caught individuals to be returned to foreign nations, and if someone doesn't want to comply, that's a felony. Debate centers on if, though, it's Idaho's place to take on what can be argued is supposed to be a federal issue.
We're not going to fix America's broken federal immigration system with a questionably constitutional state law that weakens civil rights protections and penalizes Idaho's most productive industries.
While the federal government is responsible for immigration enforcement, states have a legitimate interest in protecting their residents, their resources, and their public safety. Federal agencies have also failed to secure the border effectively, forcing states to take action, and that's why we're here today doing what we're doing.
So there is a fiscal note on the proposed bill that's asking for $250,000 to essentially pay for deportations out of Idaho, and that would actually go up to $1 million financial request for fiscal year 2026. As you can imagine, people are speaking out against that, and it includes the ACLU of Idaho condemning this and other proposals they believe are anti-immigrant. This proposal, though, specifically, the ACLU says, has already hit a constitutional wall in other places, putting Idaho taxpayers on the possible hook for expensive legal battles.
The states are not supposed to be able to supersede federal law enforcement, and that is precisely what this bill attempts to do, and that is completely unconstitutional. It is a copycat bill from Senate Bill 4 out of Texas, which passed several years ago, but has been stopped by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals from going into effect, and so we assume that the same would happen here.
So this proposed legislation started in the House, Brian, and now has fully cleared that body. If the Senate replicates that work and the governor signs off on it, we would probably see some copycat legislation, copycat lawsuits.
The question I have that I don't know that we've seen answered yet is this deportation. That's where this kind of blurry lines, or lines get blurry, I should say.
Yeah.
That's a federal thing. But when it comes to that deportation out of Idaho, do we just take them to Ontario? What do we do? Is this, I mean, we take them where?
It's a great question.
The border of anywhere in Texas, Arizona, California?
Their goal would be to basically get them down to the line between the United States and the other country, assuming we're talking about Mexico here. I don't think we're
assuming
talking
where
about
they're
Canadians.
from. Yeah.
At the same time, though, there are also questions about whose responsibility would it be to process these people at the border? Where would the holding be down at the border?
Detention centers, yes.
How much would it cost, and what agencies would be responsible for physically transporting someone over state lines. It could be an expensive process, and it also could be something that the federal government is looking at. Something that we heard in recent years from Idaho lawmakers is the Biden administration, the federal government, they're not handling this, so we're going to. Now that it's the Trump administration, that claim doesn't hold as much weight.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, thank you very much, Joe. You know, got a little bit more debate in the Idaho State House, more than, I guess, immigration put together. Chickens. Talking about chickens and the minimum penalty for marijuana. Hunter Funk looked at some of the hot topics in the legislature today.
Let them eat eggs.
First up,
Senate Bill 1026, which is also fondly being called the Free the Chicken Bill. This bill does one thing. It simply prevents HOAs from banning backyard chickens outright.
read on the Senate floor, this bill would make it so the homeowner associations can't control a homeowner from owning up to 4 chickens. Though HOAs would still control things like waste management, chicken coop placement, and prohibiting roosters. Critics of the bill argue it's government overreach, unnecessarily interfering in private property agreements.
If the state can retroactively nullify private agreements in the name of chickens, what else can it override?
Plus, the puns lawmakers were laying were hard to ignore.
Fellow senators, I just urge you to support this common sense and excellent bill.
I'm pretty excited to vote for this.
I don't think I'm going to put all my eggs into this basket.
The bill passed, 28 for, 6 against, and heads to the House, or as Kelly Anthony says,
to the other coop across the rotunda.
Next, House Bill 7. This bill creates a minimum fine for marijuana. This legislation amends Idaho Code, adding a minimum fine of $300 for first-time offenders in possession of 3 ounces or more. It passed in the House a few weeks ago, and today it made its way to the Senate Judiciary and Rules Committee.
Give us a bit more deterrence. Our law enforcement wants it. I want this.
Proponents of the bill say the measure strengthens safety in Idaho, but opponents raise concerns about fairness and enforcement.
If we don't have a tough on crime posture, we can assure our public that in due time, we will end up like California, Oregon, and Washington.
Police will still have discretion. Prosecutors will still have discretion, but the discretion of a fine is pulled away from the judges because they have to mandate a minimum.
Nearly a dozen people testified in favor of the bill, 3 against.
Ayes have it, motion carries.
With just 2 senators in opposition, it now heads to the Senate. That brings us to the Senate Education Committee, where PragerU was the topic for discussion. Senator Tammy Nichols brought forth a resolution that's essentially a letter of support to the Department of Education.
Basically, this resolution affirms the Idaho legislature's support for the inclusion of PragerU kids supplemental education resources in Idaho public schools.
This PragerU curriculum has received mixed messages.
It's been accused of promoting fascism, racism, sexism, and anti-LGBTQ politics, and that's concerning to me.
According to Nichols, the Department of Education already approved using this program to support core curriculums. This just says they approve their approval.
All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay. Now the bill heads to the Senate floor. And the resolution was able to skip a public hearing in committee because it doesn't have a fiscal note attached to it, so it's just a resolution headed to the floor.
And though it's been recommended or at least allowed to be used as a supplemental curriculum, we don't know of any school districts at this point who have used it or began using it even minimally.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's up to each district to make that decision. Right now, they're just saying, yeah, good job.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Hunter. You know, a lot of bills bouncing around the State House that tend to be a bit broad, but then every once in a while you get a bill that is laser focused on a very specific Idaho thing that most people will be like, oh yeah, been there. There, in this case, is Idaho's Highway 55 and 95, or actually any 2-lane highway with a passing lane in the mountains. Today, Representative Charlie Shepherd took his cause to the House Transportation Committee because, well, he's tired of people speeding up in the right lane when they're about to get past.
And I'm a little frustrated at the lack of that enforcement at passing lanes because they are not utilized correctly, and that creates more road rage and more unsafe conditions than probably any other thing going up Highway 55 and 95.
Maybe he's right. Maybe you've been there, like I said. And you see, Representative Shepherd lives in Pollock, about 3-hour drive north of Boise. So he's been up and down that road, 55 and 95, a lot. And he has the same frustrations you do driving those stretches of mountain roads. You've been waiting patiently for that passing lane, then all of a sudden you're in a fight for your life for the pole position at Daytona. And all you're trying to do is just get past a guy in a trailer. And right now, Idaho's law says on a 2-lane road, you can go up to 15 miles an hour faster than the speed limit to pass somebody. So Representative Shepherd just wants that to apply to passing lanes as well. But why stop there?
Occasionally you get the guy that doesn't want to be passed, and he tends to go 15 over as well. So why are we putting a cap and not just letting us pedal to the metal?
Yeah, Representative Kyle Harris is like, why not? Let's just let it all go. No holds barred in Idaho passing lanes. Likely not going to happen. Not that that has stopped many of you from already doing that, right? 15 miles over in a passing lane, it's a possibility. That bill just got printed and could be coming to the House Transportation Committee sometime this session. All right, well, third item on the agenda for the Senate State Affairs Committee this morning, a concurrent resolution to recognize something Idaho lawmakers claim they already know.
And that is the importance of local government. The importance of keeping government close to the people.
Yes, government close to the people. Senate Concurrent Resolution 107 basically gives a shout out to Idaho cities and local government. And it calls on the legislature and the governor to collaborate with cities to advance local interests because, after all, they are the economic and service hubs for the majority of Idahoans. And they even threw in some numbers there to kind of back that up. Like 76% of the state lives within a city limit. 71% of businesses operate within a city limit. Cities maintain nearly 35,000 miles of road. They're responsible for essential services, public safety, parks and rec, and so forth. Well, the resolution includes a bunch of whereases, like local officials are best to address the unique needs of their communities because, well, they live there and they know and they're directly accountable to the people who voted them in. And if a state makes a law or a mandate that oversteps local authority, well, that can hinder that city's ability to be innovative, to come up with tailored solutions that fits them best for such things as housing, infrastructure, and public safety. Therefore, be it resolved, it said, the legislature generally supports local decision-making authority and recognizes the importance of local control because that is the most effective and the most responsive. And they have meaningful consultation between state agencies. That's what they want you to do. That's what they say this bill should do, this resolution. That cities should have this when coming up with laws that impact local communities.
When they want a swimming pool, when they want a pickleball court, when they want some of those basic needs, they're not coming to this committee. They're coming to their city councils. And what I find is that in the state of Idaho, we do a pretty good job on that level of government. And what we're saying in this concurrent resolution is just simply that the state recognizes that and that we support it. And that we have long supported the idea that local government serves the Idaho citizens the best.
Local government is a long-supported idea, Senator Anthony said, much like actions speak louder than words. And while resolutions carry no enforcement, the laws passed recently certainly do. And they sometimes speak louder than resolutions. Like this is just an abbreviated list of local control being usurped by those in the State House. Last year, there's the library bill, which removed the ability to put books where they feel appropriate from local librarians. Or how about not allowing cities to regulate rent or rental fees to help make local housing more affordable? They took that away, and that became a law last year. This year, lawmakers want to regulate what flags can be in a classroom or flown outside City Hall. They want to tell cities they can't require electric vehicle charging stations or designated parking spaces in city parking lots. They want to take away a city's ability to impose a mask mandate or follow any health mandate of any kind proposed by the World Health Organization. They want to force neighborhoods to allow chickens or other urban ag animals in the backyards, what we just heard about already. And they want to tell local school boards who can vote in local school board elections. If you're here on a work visa, you got a kid in school, tough. You don't get a say in how your kid is educated. They want to tell school boards what public comment is allowed at a school board meeting. And they want to force your kid to hear Bible passages every day in that school, but also force your kid to be without the cell phone in the classroom. And speaking of that, 2 weeks ago, Senator Treg Burnt said this about that.
I believe in local control. I come from local government. That's where I got when I started politics. I never liked being told what to do by state legislators, and so we're saying, please have this policy in place. You guys decide what's best for you.
State legislators telling local governments what they think they should do. It seems like local governments already have the authority, though, to do what's best for them, right? Do they need a law or a resolution to reaffirm that? Well, based on what we've seen lately from the State House, maybe they do. All right, stick around. We got more of the 208 coming up next. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about your own 208 tidbits? Concerns, comments, queries? We're always looking for stories and feedback. Send any of it to 208-321-5614. As always, include your name and the hashtag the 208. Oh, if it's clean, concise, and clever, well, we might share yours at the end of today's show. Certainly seen a lot of it lately. Lots of snow, especially in the mountains. And that usually comes with, lots of fun. But that doesn't mean it doesn't come without some closed roads and safety reminders. Abby Davis says all of that and more in today's 411.
This issue is no longer what it ever started out to be about. It's now just another log on the fire of the social warfare attacks we're making on the trans community.
This is not a transgender bill. This is a bill celebrating women standing up for women's sports.
Well, when the resolution is about standing up against an alleged transgender athlete, then it kind of makes it a transgender bill. And that bill, commending Boise State women's volleyball for forfeiting matches against San Jose State because of an athlete on its roster, got adopted by the Senate today after a short debate. And that's that for that resolution. Wondering what you're paying at the pump? Boise is now averaging $3.16 per gallon, up nearly 11 cents from last week. The cheapest gas in Boise can be found at $2.89, while the most expensive, $3.59. Compared to last month, Boise prices are up about 12 cents. You'll save some pennies at the pump if you had to cancel your trip along Highway 21. A portion of the highway is still closed today after a massive avalanche between Grand Jean and Banner Summit, with some spots buried 40 feet deep in snow. We'll see what ITD says about conditions tomorrow morning. All that snow is getting skiers and snowboarders out on the mountain in force. But just last week, a skier fell off the coach chairlift at Bogus Basin, which is rare, but still Ski Patrol wants to remind you of some basic mountain etiquette.
The number one thing on that is always stay in control.
They also say to put down the chairlift bar, give others plenty of room, and don't go anywhere above your level. The City of Boise announced $85,000 in funding for youth-led climate projects in 2025, up $35,000 from last year. The expanded initiative will support up to 17 projects at $5,000 each, open to residents aged 15 to 24. Projects must align with the city's climate priorities and be completed by October 31st, with applications due March 7th. That's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
There really have been some beautiful skies over southern Idaho the last couple of days, and today no exception, but that sunshine bright, brisk, and deceiving, right? It's only 28 degrees in Boise right now. The warmest we've been is 29 in the City of Trees. We're in the mid-20s right now in Twin Falls. Temperatures already dropping for Sun Valley and McCall, down to 16 in Sun Valley, but it's been a bluebird day for skiers in many of our Central Mountain locations. A really gorgeous day. Tonight, though, is set to get very cold. We turn our attention to an Arctic air mass that is on the move tonight. Temperatures will drop pretty quickly into the teens, but we'll wake up to single digits in Boise tomorrow morning for the first time this season, for the first time since last January, since we've seen single digit readings in Boise. Caldwell and Ontario did see single digits this morning. That will be on repeat again tomorrow. Look at our mountains below zero everywhere. In the Magic Valley, you'll see teens tomorrow. So we do have a cold weather advisory in place from now all the way through Thursday morning for nearly our entire viewing area because of the frigid conditions. An extreme cold warning for the Camas Prairie as temperatures around Fairfield could dip as low as 30 degrees below zero, especially Wednesday morning. That will likely be the core, the peak of these really cold conditions. Look at our highs tomorrow. Another day with beautiful blue skies, but we'll only hit the mid-20s in the Treasure Valley, almost 20 degrees colder than average. That's why we have first alert weather conditions in place each morning from now through Thursday, and then all day Thursday into Friday as a winter storm system is set to sweep in. It will bring warming temperatures by Valentine's Day. We're back up near 40, but snow will likely stick to the ground Thursday night into Friday, so the commute could be very dicey Friday morning. Warming temperatures, but still wet over the President's Day weekend.
All right, let's get to your comments. This one here from Kelly pointing out a useful tidbit of information. You know, in odd years, Oregon has a maximum 35-day legislative session. Idahogans, take note. You know, until 1969, Idaho used to meet every other year, never in between an odd number or even number years, just every other year. So that was back in 1968 when they decided to change the Constitution. For the love of God, our legislators need to do the budget and go home, says Angeli. A lot of people saying that. The best thing the legislature introduced this year, allowing up to 4 chickens in every yard, says Scott. But then on the other side of that, Dee says, if you think you have rats now, just wait until you get 4 chickens per yard in the neighborhoods that you're looking at. Oh, this one, Brian, are you clucking kidding me? A good one. A bill to allow 4 chickens per home. A bill to increase passing speed limits in 2 of the most dangerous highways in Idaho. What are these elected fools thinking? How about focusing on providing the dollars for public education? Did we really elect these people? Yes, you did, Carl and Meridian. Yes, you did. I agree with the passing lane speedos. Always a raceway when below speed runners go from 45 to 50 in normal 55 zones, and everybody just kind of speeds up. It says Highway 16 near Firebird. That's also notorious for this as well, says Darren in Nampa. And finally, from Rebecca in Boise. Brian, I think I finally get it. Our state legislators are resolving to resolve that their previous resolutions are indeed good ones that need to be re-resolved. And how much are we paying for all this resolving, she asks. Well, last time we checked, it was about $40,000 a day, I think, that we pay for the legislature to be in session. And so far, let's see, we're about halfway through February almost, and we still got a month and a half left, usually because it goes all the way basically through March. Unless they can wrap it up early, because all they have to do is balance the budget.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.